Give it your best shot. Don't half give it your best shot. Give it your best shot in life. And really get out there and enjoy yourself. Smile and be happy. It's a tough little world out there. Controlled aggression is meeting a 50-50 ball. Face up! And the first bloke just takes a little bit of a deviation, just come off the bench and I'll talk to you on the phone, because that'll be the bloody reason.
I guess Ron Barassi, probably before him, have been probably the two key people, I think, coaches, players or whatever else is in the game that have actually changed the nature of Australian football.
What he does too is he threatens a lot of people by the way he is.
He calls himself Edward de Bono's mad half-brother. That's how he sees himself.
He's a great politician, and he's best when his back's against the wall.
It was a bit frightening, I suppose, meeting Kevin the first time.
What's inside Kevin Sheedy's brain? That's probably one of the most intriguing thoughts in footy. Not only is he the game's most talked about thinker and innovator, he's also a born survivor. To coach one team for 18 years in his throwaway age is unbelievable. Sheedy's a man of many secrets, but for this special program, he'll take us into his world and to places where cameras and fans are usually forbidden. And later on, Sheeds will get a few surprises of his own. I must say, I can't wait to find out more about what makes Kevin Sheedy tick. You're a plumber by trade, and
well,
you and my...
I don't think I was ever a tradesman.
Well, you were a plumber for a little while, and you and I maybe not had a falling out, but you wrote in your book that we weren't the same kind of people, and I think probably
Hasn't that proved to be right?
other people probably took more offence to it. Actually, Sheeds wrote that he didn't think we'd ever be mates. He reckoned I'd have better things to do with my life, like engineering or telling plumbers what to do.
Because a guy like yourself, a guy like, say, Watson, right, a guy like, we'll just say Shane Crawford, any good-looking sort of guy, totally athletic, fit. The whole of the female population of Australia reckon, oh, what a superstar stud these guys are. And here I am, a little Irishman sitting here with a red nose, getting older and crotchety and...
Sheeds wears his Irish ancestry like a badge. This year, he was awarded the Order of Australia for his community work, and he's one of the country's most sought-after motivators. Yet, deep down, he'll always be the back-pocket plumber who Tommy Hafey yelled at during the 1975 finals.
Kevin, fair dinkum, mate, you've got to put your boot into the ball. You're too slow to do all this finessing. Bloody back-pocket plumber. That's what I want.
I think that's one of his strengths. He likes to be seen as the boy from the back streets of Paran who's been a plumber and has had to educate himself in a real footy sense, and has done that brilliantly.
Some people would say he's bordering on eccentric. I would say I don't know whether he is or not, because there are times when I felt that perhaps he's a creative genius. There's other times when I thought that he's a nutty professor. He can be as hard-nosed as any man I've ever known, and he can be as compassionate as your grandmother. So I think he's a contradiction of all those things, and he probably is all those things.
Physical smartness is aggression at the ball, and it's controlled aggression. There are no free kicks.
Sheeds is in his classroom. Make that his workshop. Essendon are about to run onto the MCG against the West Coast Eagles, a game which I'll remember for all the wrong reasons. Here, Sheedy the coach is both plumber and teacher.
Let Gardner know how good a player you're going to be. So how you're going to be. I'm going to stretch him. Stretch him. Go steady, boy. And get your knee right up and eyeball him right in the eye and have a real going. A lot of noise can sometimes mean nothing to me. Just going to go through grabbing your opportunities. Now, Michael, terrific last week. When you come on that ground, just go for it. But even when you're going to find out when you're going to be a top player again, let's go for it. Just go.
We're in this room with Sheedy, the assistant coaches and the 22 players. Here, the last of the battle plans are laid.
It's your willpower against theirs. If it's 50-50, the person that wants to get the ball going our way, that's the person I want to be. There's not much in it, is there? Not much in it. In any top scoring level, you know, there's not much in it. Have a little Olympic swim, there's not much in it, it's a touch. A hand sometimes wins a gold medal. A hand sometimes gets the ball going our way and might get to the goal when it's a bloody game. So, willpower. Adventure, let's have a look at some adventure. Here's some adventure. Some rotations of adventurers. You might pick up one, don't worry about it. Look at the next goal.
The Sheedy speech that most players remember best was at half-time in the 1993 preliminary final. We were 44 points down against the Adelaide Crows.
At half-time, we went straight up the race, sat down, and he sort of came in and he spoke almost immediately. And he talked about all the, you know, the journey that the players had already been on as individuals and getting to that level, and how in your life you had to test yourself, how some people will never get the opportunity to really test themselves to find out really what they can achieve.
Sheeds roused Essendon to get up and win, and a week later, we snared the premiership. No doubt Tim Watson enjoyed the journey. With a few minutes to go and the preliminary final in the balance, he had the ball on the half-forward line and made a dreadful mistake. He took off, sprinted like the Watson of 10 years earlier, and kicked the goal that probably won us the game.
Watson's got it. Watson goes for goal.
And as for that speech, well, I should repeat that most players have never forgotten it.
Thanks to a goal kicked by Timmy Watson.
I think Timmy Watson always said it was the greatest speech of all time. And I can't bloody remember a thing. Because I was actually thinking about my family who's coming down next week for the grand final, and because there was 14 in the house the next week, so I was more or less thinking about that, so instead of listening to the speech. So yeah, Kevin had a big effect on me on that quarter, yeah.
Sheeds is honest enough to admit you don't coach blokes like Longy, you just let them play.
In the middle, now Michael Long. Look at this boy go. Away goes Michael Long. 50 metres out. Still going. 30 metres out. Oh, what play! It may have been touched on the line. No!
Carried by Harvey, and he's cleaned up by Martin.
Mark Harvey was pound for pound the toughest player I ever saw, yet few people to this day know that he and Sheedy shared an incredible secret.
Well, that was probably, I mean, you talk about relationships with, you know, players and coaches. Well, if any player goes through what I did, which was bulimia, for 3 or 4 years there, and I was struggling to physically keep up with the game. And he knew my ability, you know, when you're 23, 24, 25, they're supposedly your prime years in football. I had to pull out on games on certain occasions if I'd had the problem too much where I was so weak I couldn't actually get up and out of bed, and I had to make an excuse. I had to ring up Sheedy and make up an excuse why I couldn't play, and I had to say that I had a knee injury or something like that. In effect, what it was I was so weak from having the bulimia. You know, sometimes I couldn't run out games, and that's very hard for a coach when you're picking your side, isn't it? And you can imagine the stress and pressure I was putting on the coaches and the doctors. And so one day it all hit me all at once, and said I was going to turn around and repay him, if you like.
When Harves came to play the last of his 206 games, there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
In effect, I wanted to retire about 8 weeks before that last game because I wasn't getting anywhere, I was struggling. And I said, look, you know, I want to retire. And at that point, Sheeds knew his 400th game was the last game of the year, and he just said that, look, it would be a great honour for you to go out and run out there with my kids and your kids. And as a direct result from that meeting, I said, I'll hang in there and play that last game.
Oh, I think Mark Harvey has put his body on the line for the Essendon supporters time and time again. There are some special players that do need a reward for their physical nature, the way they played it, and their commitment to a club, when many times they could have left the club.
Coaching is an intense business. These men groan and grimace their way through every weekend. Maybe company bosses make bigger decisions, but their boardrooms aren't live on TV and they don't have to explain every mistake to a jury of would-be executioners.
Is it his last game coaching Essendon? The rumours are still very strong.
For the first time in the 20 years I've known you, will you give me a direct answer?
18 years now at Essendon, and the critics aren't far away.
Is the fact that last year was such a disappointment and the team tumbled down to 10th, does that get you back on track and you sort of say, well, I'll leave those peripheral issues for another day?
Does that upset you that you put so much time into the Essendon Football Club and spent 18 years here and still there are people who don't want you here?
Look, that's happened most of my life. I remember playing at Richmond at one stage and some people on the Richmond committee didn't like the way I played. I had, that group of people at Richmond saying, Jesus, look, we want you to play that way. We've got too many of that style of play and we need some of your style. Once again, that would be the same at this club. Follow, talk. Oh, you got good life, King.
So he is coming.
Well, he says he's coming, Paul, but you know what he's like. I'll ring him on his phone. We wait for him quite a lot, yes. Usually quite a long time, yeah.
Geraldine Sheedy and her 4 children, Renee, Jessica, Chelsea and Sam, are used to waiting. Sheeds has been held up at training.
Nothing. See you later. Bye.
Wait.
Yeah, we'll wait, Paul. It's not far away, so we might as well.
He lives around the corner and he means like half an hour away. He can be home working because I think he misses out, a bit on family life kind of thing. I think because we're all growing up now and we're leaving home and stuff, so he's not going to have much longer.
I just think the fact that we really love each other, and I know that I wouldn't want to spend my life with anybody else, and so I put up with it a bit, I guess, yeah.
How are you, Saul? Very well, how are you? Got some good food? Don't be like that. Don't be like that, thank you. I'm always early. Geraldine, she's a bloody martyr, putting up with a person like me. I don't often say this.
I'm glad you said it, Sheeds.
I can tell by the eyes and the thoughts of many of the women in this club that not many women would put up with me, and I know that. So I've got a special person there, and her name's Geraldine, and she's. We've had 4 kids, and I would say that probably deep down I would never been able to do the things in my life if I didn't have that sort of woman, because being the style of person I am, I'm probably slightly selfish, I'd be fair enough to say that. With time for my own self as well as time for the family.
The Sheedys live on an acre in Melbourne's outer eastern suburbs. They spend any spare time in the garden they created.
Roses. I never thought I'd look at a rose when I was a kid, but I'll tell you what, the older I've got, the more I've enjoyed them. Got over 100 rose bushes, so they've been pretty handy. We'll leave that one for later. Come on, you guys. Out you come. Oh, no, boy. There you go. No, get scared. Oh. What have we got today? What are you complaining about? Collingwood supporters, look at them. Black and white. Absolute disgrace. The Pearl to me is like a billabong on the edge of the Murrumbidgee, where you've been to and you thought, gee, you can't go up the Murrumbidgee when you're coaching all the time, can you?
So, Sheeds, how many people would you say really know you as a person?
Half a dozen,
yeah.
Half a dozen, maybe 10. And, I mean, how close do you let people get to you anyway? I mean, it's probably something that's, in many ways, I probably have done the wrong thing. I should warm to people a bit more. But one of the problems when you nearly do it is you either get hurt by them at times, or you get cut to pieces after 4 years, and you think, well, I'll never ever open up to a person again in my life.
Personally, I don't know. I don't think a lot of people know as his personal life. I think he keeps that pretty much to himself.
I know his strengths, I know his weaknesses very well. But as a man, I think that Kevin has a great ability to extract information from people, but I don't think that at the end of the day he actually gives you much.
When Essendon isn't playing, Sheedy often takes young players to watch the footy.
Well, I like to see where their thinking is compared to where mine is, and mine might be a long way off. Superstar Lloyd here. Yeah, I want to see him tell James Hird to get out of the Essendon forward line sometime.
He's so at home with young fellas that you'd almost reckon he's some sort of father figure.
I don't get too close to them. I mean, I must admit, I cannot afford to. I'm a problem for my players sometimes because, I mean, I'm the person who has to let them go when they're retiring or whether they're not good enough or in the end, if we're doing a draft deal swap. Have you enjoyed the seconds?
I hate it.
And how many games have you played?
Don't hate it.
How many games have you played in the seconds?
Yeah, not many.
How many?
About 4 or 5.
In how many years?
5 years.
God.
Monday morning in Sheedy's meeting room, the coaches start their preparation for the weekend's match with a post-mortem of the previous round.
Would you say that Calthorpe played poorly? Would you say that the City played poorly?
Yeah, but you're not talking about...
Hard stuff. Real. No, you've got to work hard at it.
You see, go ripping into the packs and getting it out. And, I mean, you would Solomon, wouldn't you? But those sort of players.
Right, so we've got to continue working at players.
You get the right mix.
More physical. Yeah, that's a good point. It's reading in some of the Adelaide papers. They felt that Robin was a pretty good player for them, the way they looked at it.
He kicked 3 goals. Yeah, it's good up forward. In the last quarter, that's already.
It also helped with Wren. Just as Wren was tiring a bit and he'd been rucked off the bench and got injured, and they just felt it was a bonus to be able to throw in the ruck and contribute that forward.
This meeting sets up the week. How we prepare for the coming game. In this case, the Eagles.
Yeah, Jakovic should play. Question mark on McKenna. I think it's an AC joint, but we have to find out this week, so he still may play that.
Well, I actually came on board to work with Kevin 3 seasons ago to help him learn to administer. Probably 10 years ago, you didn't need quite so much help off the field as you do now. Maybe 18 years ago, you didn't need any help. And I think he's very conscious that he needs to keep changing and become totally professional off the field as well as on the field.
It's the cheapest office we can find, fellas.
He's a very, very good person, Sheeds. Totally focused on whatever he happens to be doing at that point in time. And he can put things in compartments.
The ducks come up and annoy, but that's not too bad every now and then.
We were in the final series in '96. He was just so completely focused on the finals and playing and coaching that I don't think he got out of the tracksuit that he had on. He was just so preoccupied with coaching. I don't think he even knew what he had on.
Yeah, this is 1969 ration from... the only thing I've probably kept in the army other than my sense of humour, which was 1969 I marched in.
Today is supposed to be Sheedy's only day off for the week. Just 4 or 5 appointments. The first he's looking forward to, meeting up with his mum, Irene, and his first teacher, Sister Rupert.
There they are. A couple of girls. How are you all? How you been?
It was lovely. He was always very good. He was so interested in sport, he didn't have time to give any trouble.
I fell in here on my first Holy Communion day. We come down to have our family photo taken. And Dad, I was telling Dad to come over here. I noticed some eels in the water. And I'd never seen eels, you know. And so the day of my first Holy Communion, I just went straight back in there and absolutely made an idiot of myself. Can't beat this place. Can't beat it.
I'll tell you this, you never want to have him as a plumber. I couldn't get him to put a washer on a tap. I had to get one of his mates to come, put some washers on the taps, and they sent me a bill for $37. I'll never forget it.
What year was it, 80s or 70s? If it was 1970s, you're in trouble. 60s.
Whoa! Whitey got that pretty hard. No free kick as Sheedy comes through.
You don't bag for Essendon?
To Sheedy. Sheedy, oh, beautiful pasta.
Bag for Richmond?
That's right. I never ever change.
They're stubborn, aren't they, these women? Even women can be stubborn.
Towards the wing, Atkinson coming across, but a great mark in defence taken by Kevin Sheedy.
One little son over there coaching the Bombers, and you just won't jump the bridge. You won't cross town, will you?
I lived there for a while, that was enough.
Well, I've lost count of the number of times I've actually seen Sheedy in the middle of the pack on the ball, Jack. He doesn't give up, does he?
No, he doesn't. He's a good battler, Frank. He battles well for his side.
Sheeds clocked up 254 games for the Tigers, including 3 premierships, with his boyhood mate, Kevin Bartlett.
Well, I tell you what, Sheeds, I can remember your house down the end of the street there. Used to have a corrugated roof on it, and there's a 3-storey condominium there now. Must be owned by an AFL footballer.
Yeah, we missed out on the day, didn't we, pal? I mean, what...
By about 25 years.
Well, what would your first take-home pay at the end of your first year be?
Look, I reckon it was around about $400. I can remember when we won the premiership.
For the year?
For the year. Blokes get that to turn up for training these days, don't they?
Sheedy grew up in tough circumstances. His father died when he was a teenager, and from an early age, he learnt the rat cunning to survive.
And it was from this corner, really...
We can make a fortune.
It was from this corner that you actually made a fortune, because I know that you used to sell a lot of papers because you were very, very popular, but you used to keep a few of the leftovers, and then in the peak hour traffic, around about 6 o'clock, everyone leaving, they'd bip the horn.
I didn't tell anybody that.
You would run out, you'd hand them the paper, and they'd drive off, give you a wave. It wasn't until they got home that they realised you sold them last night's Herald.
You did that. You know that. You're telling a story about yourself and putting it on me. Now, you be honest. Look in the camera and say, did you do it or not?
I was only the apprentice.
Only the apprentice.
Kevin, this is the famous fruit salad tree you were just telling me about. You brought back from Hawaii. It looks like an ordinary tree to me.
No one else would have a tree like this in Australia. First, you know, pluck a banana in, just like that. Now, you've never seen a banana come off a tree like that before.
That's amazing.
Come along here, anywhere, and you could just pick up an orange.
He couldn't mark, he couldn't kick, and he couldn't run, all those sorts of things, and he proved everyone wrong.
And of course, once again, have a look at the size of the grapefruit. I mean, that is an unbelievable grapefruit.
You know, nearly 250 games of AFL football, played for Victoria, won Best and Fairest awards, captain of his club, and then went on to be a successful coach. And I suppose even during his coaching career, he's had his knockers and his self-doubters. Even though he's been so successful, he's always had this survival instinct. And people say he's been reinventing himself all the time. But I think he's been smart enough to always move with the times, and he's never, ever lost faith in himself.
Finds Kevin Sheedy. Sheedy's got plenty of room, as you can see. Steady shoots for goal. What's the result?
Sheeds thrived on the Richmond philosophy of one for all and all for one, as this 1969 premiership teammate remembers.
1969 had a fantastic year. Lynn and the rest of the fantastic sorts at Richmond would sit in the stand and we'd flex our muscles, and we won the flag. I kicked 7 against Collingwood and won a beautiful light blue suit off Tony Charlton on the Channel 9 footy show. Went here to the Richmond Town Hall on the 11th of December 69 and received the Best Goal Kicking Award and a Promising Player Award. Walk round the corner, someone said something unsavoury to my then fiancé. I gave him one to go on with and copped one from the side that I don't think Mike Tyson could have worn. I've walked back into the foyer of the town hall with blood streaming all over this magnificent blue and now red suit. Graham Richmond says, "What happened, Cocko?" I told him. He said, "We need a posse." Sheedy, Todd Shelton and Graham Richmond and myself walked around the corner. About 10 minutes later, they carried one of these blokes into the police station behind me where I was a constable in my early police days. The next morning in here, Leo Froud. Court's now in session. You're charged with assaulting Rex James Hunt. I'm there in the tracksuit. I've come straight from the jog around the tan. This bloke looks like he should be in the #1 casualty ward at the Alfred Hospital. Leo Froud said, "Is this man actually charged with assaulting you? Is he, Mr. Hunt?" I said, "Yes, sir, he is." Told him, fine $200, and out we go. Leo Froud said to me, "Rex, can you got a minute?" I said, "Yes, sir, your worship." He said, "Next time you have one like this," he said, "give him a month to get the bandages off so that it doesn't look so stupid." It was good times then. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. If it happened now, I'd be in jail.
Why do you reckon it was Sheeds that Essendon chose you? What did they see in the Kevin Sheedy?
The first approach actually came from your grandfather, to be honest, back in about '76, I think, that they were looking for a coach. It must have been after Tuddenham's era, I can't remember.
It's funny when you think about how long Sheedy's been coaching Essendon. Some of today's players were babies when he started. I was 7.
Brian Davies just said to him one day, "How'd you like to coach Essendon?" Oh, Christ, he nearly jumped off his bloody chair. And that was the original start of Kevin Sheedy being a coach for Essendon. He was an ordinary plumber, full stop.
They call him the Rabbit King because he's made his fortune selling rabbits with the first refrigerated trucks. Jack bought John Coleman to Essendon for a Fergie tractor and has backed Sheedy unwaveringly. When Sheedy was tempted by Dr. Edelston's Sydney dollars, Jack went straight to Sheed's working class heart.
I said, "Kevin, you're a plumber, you're not bloody." He's got pink suits, pink shoes, pink scent, and his wife's got pink everything on. And he's got a helicopter that's pink and a bloody aeroplane that's pink. Don't ask me anymore, it's all plastic, you know. And it might have had a bit of a bearing why he never went to Sydney.
From the start, Sheedy was the catalyst for change. He demanded to be full-time, football's first full-time coach. Ever since, he's displayed a remarkably fertile imagination and an insatiable desire to be different. And even after 18 years, he's never predictable. Innovations, like the 4-man interchange, football apprenticeships, the growing influence of Aboriginal players, the use of videos, and the marketing that's trebled Essendon's membership in his time. Not to mention a few tricks, like the day the Windy Hill windsock got tied down, or spying over the fence. Now, he's putting his hand up for a new job.
I would like to be the development and promotions officer of the game that we've never played. And that to me is something I've spoken to a couple of people in Melbourne about and written about, and that is the best versus the rest.
Best versus the rest. So you pick your best team from
you can
any
get
players playing the AFL?
Well, I think that's the way we've got to go. I mean, I think that our state footy at the moment is just maybe, but we've never ever in 100 years, and I don't know why. I honestly don't know why, but we've never had the best 44 players on the ground at the one time.
Probably in the time that I've been in the game, he's been the most interesting and provocative and ideas and creative, I think, in terms of his coaching of all the... And there have been a few of them along the way over my period.
Of course, sticking your neck out runs a risk of getting it chopped off.
Louder. Got to be heard in front of 50,000 people. I can hear you 10 yards away.
Even in his first month as coach, Sheedy was carpeted for training the players until 7:45 at night.
Don't be a robot, okay? Ball sitting there and you're waiting for it. You wouldn't do that in a game. I nearly went. You know, I thought to myself, well, definitely I'm in trouble here. You know, and we won, you know, we got beaten in '83. We were very hard at it in 1 and 2. And, you know, if anything, they said, look, you're going at this job too hard, you are too ruthless, virtually, and we don't know whether we want our club to be this way. And I thought to myself, well, gee whiz, I'm going to sign up here for me to change into you.
Yeah, sure.
Now, if you want me to go that way, well, you better get yourself another coach.
I mean, I can remember Sheeds with Peter back in, 82 through 85, and they used to train so hard that, you know, half the people wanted him sacked for training too hard, and they always blamed Sheeds. It was probably Peter's fault himself. And nowadays, gee whiz, half the people want him sacked because he doesn't train them hard enough.
I simply stand, irrespective of what our attitudes are elsewhere, speaking on behalf of supporters. And I say, Kevin, this is the greatest night of the year for us, and thank you.
Now, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit tonight because I've been such a boring person at these sort of functions. I know how I can destroy a night very quickly. Very difficult to be an extrovert coach in a conservative community.
I'd like to welcome you to our traditional Castle McClellan PPB Bomber Luncheon, where we're very fortunate once again to have the man himself, Kevin Sheedy.
See that guy there? That's Hardwick, all right? Now, He works for the Commonwealth Bank. Have you ever seen a bank teller dive on a ball like that?
Gary O'Donnell.
Gary O'Donnell, okay, so the bank, you guys in the suits, you guys in suits and ties are doing well.
He's got a thirst for knowledge, unbelievable thirst for knowledge. We'd be talking about theories of training and Bruce would be talking about injuries, diagnosis, etc. And it was like a sponge. And if you go to his library at home, it's just filled with books. And whenever he goes overseas, people buy golf clubs and tennis rackets. Sheedy buys books.
I mean, half the time he'll rubbish the school teachers and the doctors and the engineers, but the fact is he is the frustrated academic.
How do you make a star? How do you find star footballers? How do you create star footballers? Lucille Ball, when I went over to America, we went to a lot of the Hollywoods, and I probably spent about $1,000 on how to create stars.
Chance for Billy Duckworth to score a goal, and he does.
Coming over to Watson. This could be another goal. It is.
You've been lucky.
Very
You've
lucky.
been the one-on-one one. What match was it? How many games?
20th.
20th
20th,
match.
yes, it was.
What a joke. This guy's unbelievable.
Talk about the 93 grand final. Probably the saddest incident, I suppose, was Derek kicking. Yeah, I mean, he had a falling out. He wasn't happy with the decision for him not to play.
No.
Did that
Well,
affect you?
yeah, a lot of people, look, it was always awkward that period because a lot of people don't understand sometimes why things happen.
Derek had played every game in 1993, but was left out altogether from our grand final side. To this day, Sheedy hasn't explained publicly why Derek wasn't told earlier. But on the Thursday night when the team was to be read out in the players' room, our former captain Simon Madden was there, mingling with his old mates.
Simon Madden was the rucks coach of Carlton, and I wasn't going to announce the side totally across the board that night. Because I know that if Simon's the longest playing serving club player at this club, but if he had a found it, naturally Carlton would have got hold of the side. It's quite easy, a phone call, and you know, he's a legend in the club. So I just didn't announce the side. I said, you know, 2 of you 5 are staying in and 2 of you 5 are going out. So that left the team open for 10 selections on that Thursday night.
When the two teams ran onto the MCG, Carlton still didn't know our lineup. Essendon won the flag, and Derek Kickett has refused to speak to Sheedy ever since.
You hate the word, Derek. Hate it? Hate on Kevin. Oh, yeah, personally, I hate his guts.
And that's when I get down to decisions from Martians and that, but...
When you say Martians, Ken, when you say Martians, because you did say Martians after, you said we were in front with 2 minutes to go against Collingwood, and then the Martians arrived. By Martians, do you mean the umpires?
I wouldn't say that. I'm not allowed to talk about umpires, and I'm not allowed to talk about commissioners.
So the Martians...
Conduct unbecoming. I mean, Derek's got 1,500 today, has he?
He did get 1,500 today, yes. It has been strongly suggested, from Peter Cameron particularly, I think, that things should stay on the ground.
Well, there's another Martian, isn't it? They just keep floating in.
That's normal for Kevin. Some people have conversations with him and halfway through the conversation think to themselves, now I've missed the point here somewhere. Not quite certain what he's talking about. But the main thing is Kevin knows what he's talking about, and I think that's important.
So I think that we've been very, very hard, very, very committed to trying to work through a bit of a downtime, if you like that, and just hold the fort in the percentage area. Just hold the percentage area.
He's different to deal with in that you can ask him a question and the answer doesn't necessarily bear any resemblance to the question because he's thinking on lots of different levels and pulling in from different areas all the time.
He's always 2 or 3 steps in front of the next person. I'm fascinated when I was in 1992 to go to a press conference, and see Kevin ask one question and give an answer to another one, and people not knowing where he was coming from. Just to look at the journos' faces, it was amazing.
Sometimes when he answers the question, you suddenly reel him and say, well, where's that come from? And you don't know. And sometimes I think Kevin doesn't know.
The perception, Sheeds, that you are mad, does it worry that people don't understand what you're talking about a lot of the time?
I've got no problem with that. I understand where they're coming from, and at times I might overstep the mark, and they've got to just, you know, give me a kick in the backside and get me back on the track, and I've got to wear that because I'm prepared to. Look, if you're not there prepared to do things and lift the bar and push boundaries, I'll tell you what, we'd be the loveliest, shyest, quietest club, and we wouldn't be in the AFL. Well, you just keep telling Ryan O'Connor he can't play. That's all.
No, I just want.
And you tell Fraser he can't play. I just want you to print it every week. Tell Patrick.
Well, we won't now.
Tell the fast bowler. I mean, that is an issue that you put it out there, and that's fantastic, because sometimes, as Muhammad Ali would say, that the people who criticise me the most possibly may inspire me the most. And it was very good for us. It was very good this week to have 5 or 6 of those guys said they're virtually useless.
He's got his own sense of humour. He calls himself Edward de Bono's mad half-brother. That's how he sees himself, because he thinks he's trying to be that creative all the time.
Sometimes you're trying to make decisions, hopefully, that will be correct. He will not be right all the time.
He threatens a lot of people by the way he is and the way he approaches his job and the way he achieves his successes. And it's not always the way that people would read these things out of a manual.
There's the public Kevin Sheedy that we all see, and then there's the private Kevin Sheedy. And I think he is brilliant at putting forward this sort of maverick, enigmatic, almost absent-minded professor act that he's been sort of living on for the past 10, 15 years. He is just as ruthless and just as tough as he was as a defender for Richmond.
It's a very dangerous little world you live in, because you're trying to put some philosophies out there.
Well, when I was a journalist for the Herald, a sports writer for the Herald, I wrote that he was gone, or not necessarily gone, this was in the late 80s, that he was facing the sack or on the way out at Windy Hill. And there was definitely some truth to that. There were a lot of committeemen and a few others around the place that wanted him out. He was very, very upset about that. And I think he made sure that a couple of the people who spoke to me left Essendon as a result. He's got a long memory, Kevin. I think that's the Richmond in him.
Even his closest mates, Mal Brown, Wayne Walsh, and teammates from his playing days still back up for a tennis game with Sheeds. And they're as competitive as ever.
I got you guys in a couple of weeks, so don't worry about that.
Sheedy never strays far from the Richmond South Yarra precincts where he grew up.
Kevin, you're supposed to get some.
No.
And he's never loath to call on old mates.
It's famous handball over the head.
No, it doesn't matter what time. If he wants you for anything, well, the phone rings. And he's not the sort of bloke who can go crook at, because that's the make of him, and that's it.
For a while, I thought I was getting these phone calls because he was ringing me because of the association of the old days. But I found out afterwards that he used to ring half a dozen senior business guys around Melbourne regularly and just seek their view. Then he would go away in a quiet room, sit down, think out what they'd said, think about his view and make his decision. So he used to go about his business in a very quiet, careful way. But at the end of the day, he made up his own mind.
You've got to keep the place moving along and growing all the time. And so you'll have your critics. And coaching, yes, to define coaching is not just one word, madness. It's exciting and it's vibrant. I mean, I don't mind taking criticism from good, strong North Melbourne people like Aylett or Cheatley or, you know, players like ex-players. But to listen to Dawson to me, it'd be a pink marshmallow, Dawson. And Miller would be a white marshmallow. I mean, that's about where I see those two softies.
All right, boys, this is a big game Friday night at the MCG. We will want as many people there.
The Phantom is one of those characters who are the soul of a footy club. Mark Doran has been hanging around Essendon for most of his 40 years, and Sheedy gives him the run of the place.
Get your boots, hurry! This is the most important match of the season. What about last one? Should have won over there in Adelaide, should have won, but we are still on a roll, boys. A big, big roll. How big? Very big.
He was there when I came along, and Tim Watson and Kevin Egan at the time just said, look, we really enjoy the guy, and he's been around the club ever since Tim had been there, and in all honesty, I just thought, well, why not?
Let's go Friday night!
A blast from the Phantom humanises what can be a pretty tough business.
Certainly gave James a bit of a belting, didn't he?
But when you play professional football, everyone's fair game.
You've got Dermot Burton, who works for Channel 9, and kicking James Hurd's head in, who works for Channel 7, so you've got to be aware of that. So they're the sorts of things I look at.
Sheedy rises at 6 every morning to rifle through the papers and to shuffle a team on his magnetic board.
Magnetic boards, we never had them in the old days. So.
In 14 hours from now, he'll be sending us into battle against the Eagles.
And, you know, it's like a mid-season grand final, because this one means that you got a chance to get a top 4 position and have your final in Melbourne if you're in the finals, or it is, because we don't play them again, we only play them once. So it's about an 8-point match, this one.
This may sound unusual to other people, but to me it's something that has become a very natural thing. I've been writing to Sheeds since about May 1993. I've been, since the end of that year, I've been actually writing to him every week in the footy season.
Fans like Shirley Murray are a measure of the support Sheedy has. Shirley is so devoted, she never misses sending him a few words of inspiration.
We've had all sorts of misfortunes at the club, all sorts of bad luck, and I think that's when he needs the help just as much as when things are really firing.
Been fantastic this year, but just keep your bubble bars up. You know what he's like? He's like every now and then, I'll just run through here and I'll get your call, something like that. And don't take it from him. Ever, not West Coast.
Be positive, keep them confused. That's been Sheedy's motto over the years. And this team meeting, an hour before the game, is to ensure we're all positive about our instructions.
You heard it? You just relax. Just want you to relax and play. You can play. Very important game for you to play. Now the challenge tonight, we have one of the youngest backline players in experience in the AFL in the top half of the AFL. That top area there. We have one of the most inexperienced backline players if you compared yourselves to Djakovic.
Sheedy believes that, like 1992, he's bringing through a new batch of young warriors. And when Sheedy shows faith in you, he really believes.
A lot of people think I'm taking a risk. I'll take a risk with these on. You know what? I think you're going to be a good player. I just want to see no goals. I want to see you take the challenge on a White. Solomon and White, so they're a 100-game player, and you'll be 600. Yeah, that's a bloody big ask. But I remember guys like Dustin Fletcher that younger than you, played a whole year and finally got there, and Hurdy the same. And Joe Massidi in the centre, and Martin McCurry. I'm taking a risk, but I think it's a bloody big risk. Some people say, let's put bloody Solomon on. You know what that is? I'm seeing if you're going to be a top-line player.
I mean, most of the players you really love and care for, you hope that they get a house out of footy, and you hope that they'll have a family that will be proud of their efforts. You hope that they have a great career. Not everyone's going to have a great career.
Spirit's been good in the team, boys. Get the talk going out the ground. He has been, for me, there's no doubt about it, the most difficult coach for me to coach against, I think, because of the obvious contrasts. And I mean, my strength is my Achilles heel. I think Kevin's, in a sense, might be too. And I don't think it's not a serious criticism of him, but I think sometimes, even when he's got it going well, he can't leave it alone.
I remember one day giving a message down to our bloke on the bench, Sheeds had just shifted, I reckon, half his team around, and we were trying to follow it on the board, and we finally get it. So picked up the phone down to the bench man and said, right, now they've shifted so-and-so here and so-and-so there and so-and-so there. And my bloke said, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, I think we'll panic now.
Tonight, Sheeds is against his former Richmond teammate, Mick Malthouse, another coach who served his apprenticeship in the back pocket.
What a game! Essendon are back in the 6. Look at Kevin Sheedy.
It was against the Eagles that Sheeds gave the now famous coat wave. And whoever wins tonight, you can bet there'll be a sea of swirling coats and scarves.
Have you ever seen anything like it? Kevin Sheedy has started a tradition.
Wellman, good mark, kicks to Hurd, got it. Well, could James go back and kick the first goal of the night? So he hurt himself, Hurd, by the look of it. He's given it to Buick. He's hurt himself by the look of it, and is going to come from the ground, Hurd.
My game ended in the first minute with a hamstring injury. The two teams are fighting for a finals place, and Sheedy's calling the changes.
Beautiful tap by Jason Ball to Peter Matera, and the Eagles have got their first goal. Gary Moorcroft, long kick, long goal. And he kicked it magnificently. Look at that. A beauty.
At half-time, the scores are level.
On field, red hot, ruthless, hard out of footy. Don't get frustrated when some things don't go your way.
Even in a crisis, especially in a crisis, Sheeds is always bold, forever taking risks.
Most times you've got to reward them. So really don't go into a channel and start worrying about it. Keep taking bloody risks of running it out. Go for a run down the centre corridor. Try and use the ball, put it in low. Then follow it up and get a crumb if it's bloody punched away from Larson Lesco. The worst thing in the end is don't try anything. And that's the worst part of football. If you don't try anything, you know where you go? You stay at bloody night.
It's a good kick. Terrific goal by Peter.
The third quarter is relentless. Essendon leads by 10 points at three-quarter time. But the Eagles are full of running.
Mercury, can he step a goal? Mercury, he can. He's got his second.
Don't let them gain control of the ball. How important is this? When you go out there and get this crowd behind you, mate, you go for it in that first 10 minutes. Get that first goal or two, you know, the whole bloody ground voting for you, loud and clear and encouraging you.
Matera, back around, he squeezed a kick out of this. Matera, one-hander. Gathered by Heady, put it down. He don't miss that, Fred Heady.
There is no nice way to lose an AFL football match, and Sheedy is soft on no man.
Disappointing loss here. Don't just keep losing by 2 points or 11 points.
But already, he's thinking about the next battle, the next victory, the next premiership.
North Melbourne coming up.
The last question, because you're interviewing me, but is it going to really burn in your gut if you never captain Essendon to a grand final and win a premiership?
Well, that was my goal.
It's going to hurt you right there?
Yeah, sure. Well, that was my goal when I was about 5 years old, Sheed, so it will burn, yeah. And it's something I want to do.
Yeah.
So.
You better hurry up.
1,400 people have gathered to celebrate Sheedy breaking Dick Reynolds' coaching record. The dinner itself is breaking records, the biggest function in Essendon's history.
You love him or not?
Yeah,
Yeah, how long is, when you pay
you last met? 100 years ago.
She may coach forevermore. She's may coach forevermore.
Sheeds may well coach forevermore, though I doubt if there'll ever be another night like this.
Had many scuffles, incidentally, with his own teammates.
Oh, any of them stick in your mind?
Oh, like one every year, don't worry about that.
I did play on Sheeds in a practice match once, and I finished the game with distemper. But
He'd be pinging the balls at me, and it says, "Oh, sit there." So I'd hurt a bit, so I'd give it back to him a little bit harder, and then things would go along nice for a while, and all of a sudden he'd jam one right into your guts there with a little handball nice and close, and so, oh, that's not bad.
Do you remember, Sheedy, all those Septembers when we trained too hard each and every night?
Kev was in the middle there, just tapping the ball down, kicking it, and giving an elbow, hip in there every now and then, just sorting a few of the blokes out, and then all of a sudden, asked over Titty'd go. And Mark Harvey would go through him or someone like that.
Sheeds may coach forevermore.
He took me into his coach's box one day on the MCG, but he got away from me and he was raving and raving and going on. I thought, well, I better keep away. Look, he did. He earned his money that day.
I remember being at an airport, and I had me heading on the side. We'd had a pretty big trip, and I remember there, I had my hands in my head sitting on the side of the airport, and there's this bloody trolley, this little squeaky wheel trolley going past, and I lifted my head up, and there's this bloody trolley full of books. And I thought, don't tell. You know, I looked up, and there's Kev Sheedy. He's been out shopping, and he's got a trolley full of books, and I think that probably was the turning point. And this is where Kev changed, and me and Kev got a bit distant. So I got into he started to get into the philosophies, and
I spent a lot of time away from home, and so I can equate what my husband Colin has gone through, serving at home, sometimes with the children, and I equate that to what Geraldine has added as the home strength to his great years of coaching, and I applaud Geraldine.
Geraldine's at home, your children grow big.
If ever anybody deserved a medal from a government, it's not me, because I love doing what I'm doing. It's my wife that actually holds the whole place together.
Maybe Geraldine should coach forevermore.
Kevin Sheedy is above all else two things: a fair sportsman and a fair dinkamozzie.
There's no use in us crying.
Retain whatever they think it is to be a Martian, Kevin.
How long is the life cycle of the average football coach?
Though he's breaking my record, I'm very proud to run second to him, and it's a very great honour for me.
And I think that he believes that failure is an essential part of success.
The world is yours in all your coaching and what you want to do with it.
How long will Sheedy go on for? Will he coach Essendon next year? In true Sheedy style, no one knows, but everyone speculates.
That's not easy, is it?
Definitely isn't.
You going to go coaching?
No. Coaching's for people like yourself, Sheeds.
You and Kerry Stokes are just going to sort of sit around and have cappuccinos all your life?